It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing. Billy C, good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, I hope you're doing all right. We got a busy show scheduled for you today, or not, because today's Friday, and you get to drive the show. So I'm either going to be here for a few minutes, or maybe for 2 hours. And remember, Fridays, commercial-free, baby. That's right, no commercial breaks. And maybe a couple, maybe an emergency, we might take one. But today's end-of-week show, I should say. Didn't want to let anything slip out the bag, you know what I'm talking about? Let's start over, all right? Today's show is being brought to you in part by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. If you're looking for a unique spice, check out Kenny Bear's Barbecue Rub. You can get to Southern Gourmet Spice Company by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner, which is on the right-hand side. And today's show is being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold. You can get it online at Amazon.com or even BarnesandNoble.com. I actually saw it up there. And if you guys have already gotten a book, I'd appreciate a fantabulous review on either Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And everyone that has taken the time to put up a review, I really appreciate it. And speaking about the book, we are going to have a book release party. And I'm looking for some ideas of where we might have it. Obviously, we need some sponsors and all of that. So if you own a business, or if you can make a decision for one that you work at, and you think that maybe having a book signing party would be beneficial to you guys, drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, that's TALKINBOXING.com. Now, programming note, we are not doing any live shows on Monday or Tuesday. But if you're a premium podcast subscriber, you will be getting a live, not live. If you're a podcast subscriber, you're going to be getting a podcast for both Monday and Tuesday. And if you're a radio dial that we're on, you too will be getting your normal shows. We just won't be doing live streams, or there won't be any YouTube postings for our show on Monday and Tuesday. Another reason why you should become a premium podcast subscriber. All right, I got some emails, I got some news, and I got the phone line open. So here's the deal. As you know, on Fridays, you drive the show. So if I get through all my stuff and you don't call, I get to leave here early. But the phone line is open, 845-228-8710. First email's from Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C., what's your thoughts on highly touted and fast-rising Raiko Matsumuto? Thanks. He says he's someone to watch out for in the bantamweight division. I think Matsumoto, which is how you pronounce it, I don't know what I was thinking, I think he's a good, I think he's a fast-rising star. I think he's going to be moved into a title shot, a real title shot, I should say, fairly quickly. So I think we should keep our eyes on him, and that's a great point from my man Jesse. No show's complete without an email from Jesse. My man Joel, who's in the chat room right now. And by the way, if you're watching on a live stream or listening on a radio dial, check out the chat room up on BillyCBoxing.com. I know there's other chat rooms. I know the simulcast that we do up on Ustream is a chat room. And YouTube also has a chat room, which I've never been to. But I heard the guys over in YouTube beat me up pretty bad. So it's okay. I can take it, man. I got thick skin. Anyway, Joel says, hey, Billy C., I found it interesting how there's more talk and interest about the two pay-per-views that we have to pay for than there are for these PBC events. Al Heyman wants to think he's doing us a favor by giving us boxing for free, but fans won't mind spending $50 for a great card like Triple G and David Lemieux and Cotto and Canelo, which I plan to order both. Heyman's only pay-per-view client, Mayweather, is fighting Berto for $65 when I actually plan not to order. And that's being overshadowed by the two HBO pay-per-views. Credit really needs to be given to Golden Boy, K2, and Rock Nation for giving us these big fights. Lastly, I read this week that the only way Lemieux would have thought Triple G was if it would have fought Triple G was if it was a pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that's the case, or that HBO was ready to move Triple G to a pay-per-view role? I tend to feel Triple G would have fought Lemieux on a regular HBO at the Garden, but I can't complain with a great undercard, though I still haven't heard if Don King is going through with Stavern to fight Luis Ortiz. Have you heard anything on that? Keep up the good work and have a good weekend. First of all, the Floyd Mayweather's pay-per-view card sucks. Whether it was for $65, $75, $85, or $25, it sucks. That's my opinion. I think Triple G was ready to be a pay-per-view fighter. However, I think Lemieux definitely pushed him a little quicker. It's just a bigger fight. There's more interest in it. So I think that once both sides were ready to sign the paper, I think the natural progression was it became a pay-per-view. As far as Canelo Cotto, we knew that was going to be a pay-per-view all along. So I'm happy about that. The talk and the interest about the Cotto Canelo and Triple G Lemieux fight way exceeds, at least from what I hear, the other two pay-per-views that are in on schedule, I guess. Of course, Berto Mayweather and the Mosley Mayorga fight. I don't know many people that are going to buy that except for Joel. So that's what I think about that. And by the way, I have some quotes from Triple G and David Lemieux. And I also have the undercard for the Leo Santa Cruz Abner Maris fight. And quite honestly, I think that card blows away the Mayweather Berto card, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Phone line is open, 845-228-8710. Here's one from my man Pius Dominguez. He says, hey, Billy C., I don't buy for 1 second that Floyd didn't know who Ronda Rousey was, and I see it that Floyd meant to be a smartass when he said a while ago, I don't know who he is. That's what he said last year, by the way. He says, first of all, he had a smart-ass look on his face as the reporters were kissing his butt and all laughed at it. Now, second of all, I have to disagree with Dax and his justification defending Floyd yesterday on this because of one of Floyd's own sons is in MMA. And I'm sorry, but how can your son be in MMA and you don't know who the biggest female star in MMA is? I don't follow MMA, and I know who Ronda Rousey is. Floyd is just full of it. Furthermore, also Floyd said Dana White used to work with his team. I don't buy it. He goes on to say, I know that Floyd beat Manny, but when that fight was getting put together, and I said they better not have Kenny Bayless as a referee for that fight, and what were the odds? He says, what were the odds out of all the referees in the world? He gets the job. Kenny Bayless is the worst referee there is. He fits the description Larry said on yesterday's show as a look at me, I'm on TV, and how with his big bug eyes all done. Who does and he says, who does crack down on clinching. He doesn't. I don't think. I think you meant he doesn't crack down on clinching. He says, how many times has he reffed a Floyd fight, and how many points has he ever taken from Floyd for holding and clinching? That's a good trivia question to have one day. The answer is 0. Floyd versus Mosley, who reffed that fight when Floyd got knocked out in the second round, but it was ruled a slip. What a surprise. Another good trivia answer, and the answer is Kenny Bayless. He says TMT Bayless. In Floyd Mayweather 2, he saved Floyd many times for not letting Marcos get fight on the inside, letting Floyd use Maidana's head to push down on and use as a steering wheel. I remember Marcos landing flush on a Floyd, and he went down, and guess what? It wasn't ruled a knockdown. Floyd is talented enough, but why does he need to be protected all the time and be the exception to the rule? Floyd even said after his fight with Manny, you can't exchange inside with Manny because you're going to lose. When asked why he didn't go toe-to-toe and why he was clinching and hugging and running and holding down Manny's head and using it as a steering wheel, to me, that's not the sweet science. I learn a lot from your show, and I agree, as you say, top fighters avoid getting hit while putting themselves in a position to hit back. Broner is proof that there's only one Floyd, and he's good at using his skill set to succeed and make a lot of money and be undefeated. The two things shoved in everyone's face every time you try to say Floyd isn't the best of all time. You have mentioned often and given the example that one of fighters you promote was doing his best emulating Floyd, but you were saying to someone with you, what the hell is he doing? I don't think Adrian Broner was honestly ever able to reach his prime, and unless he gets serious and gets to being himself instead of all that other stuff, he could really have been a force in a 140-pound division. Anyway, I'm excited for the many fights, the pay-per-view and regular cable-wise, but no way can I get into watching Floyd fight Berto. It's a good selling point and maybe one of the few that Floyd is setting out to match a record, although that one is a heavyweight record. And as you have said, Rocky had heart and will, but only some skill. And he wasn't blessed with being a top echelon in terms of natural God-given abilities, but that's what made him one of the great fighters in history. I see a lot of that with the younger, more in his prime Manny when he was climbing the weight classes. He fought many fights that were either 50-50 fights where he was the underdog, and he brought action to the table better than anyone else in his time or era. He took risks, and he did what great fighters do. I agree that Floyd was full of shit about the Ronda Rousey thing. I 100% agree, and I also disagree with Dax thinking that that Floyd was okay in saying that. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and it's just opinion. This is a subjective sport. Nobody knows what Floyd really knew. He claims to be so smart, so I too find it pretty ridiculous and unbelievable that he doesn't know who Ronda Rousey is. I think it was just a case of him being jealous that somebody else was getting some limelight. As far as Kenny Bayless, I can't argue with you. I think he is one of the worser referees in the sport. He doesn't let... I don't like any referee that doesn't let fighters fight on the inside. Just don't like it. If they're clinched and there's no action and they're only holding, then a referee can break them apart. But I prefer the referee that lets them fight inside. When you saw the fights this past weekend, especially in the Huck fight with Glowacki, you heard the referee saying, your hands are free, meaning throw some punches, damn it. Not that he had to say it that much in that fight, but anyway, and by the way, the referee in the Butte fight was doing the same thing. As far as Broner, I too agree that Broner has a lot of talent, but he got wrapped up in trying to copy off of Floyd, and he may have passed his prime. I think he was already in his prime, and he may have pissed it away. So, and like you, Pius, I too think that Manny is an all-time great fighter. I think his great days are behind him, but I think he will get there. And I also agree that I am extremely excited for the other fights that are coming up, excluding the Berto Mayweather fight, but all the rest of them coming up. We were talking about it yesterday. Klitschko Fury and Mares and Leo Santa Cruz and Canelo Cotto, and of course Triple G and David Lemieux. Joining me right now is Dax Khan, waiting patiently. What's up, Dax?
Oh, a lot of stuff to talk about today, actually. We should spend today with me yesterday.
Yeah, well, we'll talk.
First, going on the Floyd and referee comments, I think in the whole career, and I'm not sure if it might have been Gennady, who in one of his fights, it might have been for the Baltimore fight, when you show him back in the dressing room and he's going, give the last minute instructions to the guys, and they're showing it on the camera. And if it wasn't Nady, maybe it was Ortez, and it had to be Gennady who sat there and he shakes Floyd's hand and he goes, "It's an honor to be refereeing one of your fights." Pretty much right there, it's like, you come walking out, I think he had brown on his nose. That was a spectacle, and it was actually embarrassing the way he sat there praising him before, the fight even started. And he didn't do that good of a job when he was refereeing, so... it's amazing how at times, just so carelessly, these guys show blatant favoritism and then will act like they have no idea what anybody's talking about. And I don't know if they forget that there are cameras that follow them around and everybody around during these events.
Yeah, well, I don't think they forget the cameras. I think sometimes they want to be on it, like Larry was saying and Pius just pointed out. But I think you're right. I think it was Gennady that said that, but
they only want the camera on when they go, "What's bopping, man?"
Yeah, let's get popping, man.
You haven't said that in a long time, man.
I get so frustrated with some of these guys. I just don't. It's hard,
The fans were loving that when you were saying that for a while, though. They were putting that out on Twitter, asking Billy.
The guy stopped. He stopped, man. He doesn't do it on the TV fights anymore. I know he still does it when there's no cameras on him, but let's get popping, man. Yeah, that guy.
It's the way you say it, though.
Yeah, well, hey, they got to go back and play a podcast, right?
Right, there you go. And $15 a year. Get it, and you can hear what's popping, man, all you want anytime.
That's right.
But first of all, the Holly Holmes and the Ronda Rousey fight. The Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey fight. We were speaking yesterday about that, and on and off, everybody's been speaking about the with them calling out Mayweather. Now this is kind of the next best thing, because when Holly Holm left the sport, at worst she was considered the second best fighter of the sport. So now with all the attention not kind of dying down from her calling out Floyd Mayweather, and, them knowing it's not going to happen, in my opinion, as I stated, that was always a way for them just to give some added attention. Now, them going in there and fighting Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey beating Holly Holm, that's the next best thing. Then there's bragging rights on them there. I beat one of, the all-time greatest female fighters from the sport, especially if she does it so quickly and easily. There's a feather in the cap, and then the UFC can build off that momentum. Of course, one of her former opponents, I think Miesha Tate, was a bit upset about that. But, the UFC, much like, we talk about Al Heyman, they know how to, market and give a lot of showcase fights. And, so this right here is way too soon for Holly Holm. When you look at her stats, if you've ever seen any of her fights in the UFC, she's kind of new, to the sport. And, this is just another way they're going to be able to kind of criticize and step on boxing by saying, we told you no boxer can ever come into the UFC and dominate. And, they're going to use the examples of, this fight, of course, unless Holly Holm should happen, pull some sort of upset. They're going to use this. They're going to use the James Toney fight against Randy Couture. Another thing they'll throw in there is when Riddick Bowe lost that second-round TKO to Gennady Golovkin. And
what is this? What is this? Talking MMA with Dax Khan? I mean, come on, man. Let's get to the boxing. Get to the boxing.
Here, and they're really finding ways to build off of boxing because, not too long ago, remember, everybody was saying that UFC, MMA was taking over, and it looked like that for a while as boxing was fading. Now that the sport has come back so well, and the sport is on such a rise, higher than it ever has before. Fighters making more money than they ever had before. Now the UFC is kind of desperate, and they're looking for a way to get that back. So, kind of like I don't know. I know you don't listen to rap, but there's a country rapper by the name of Big Smo, and he has a song called Rick Hick Boss, and there's a line in there that says, while you're riding my coattails, why don't you scratch my back? And that's basically what the UFC is doing to boxing right now. They're just trying to, ride its coattails, so, and they're giving a scratch on the back as well, but it's going to be short-lived, hopefully. And after that, we don't have to hear about this nonsense anymore.
Is there really something called country rap?
Yes, there is.
Okay. All right. I don't need any. I believe you, and we don't need to go any further. It's just the first time ever.
The guy used to actually have a reality show, and it's not too bad either. The lyrics and stuff. But another thing that the Triple G comment.
Well, wait a minute. Time out. Let me just comment on one thing. I don't know if I would really say how great boxing is doing right now. I think it has the potential, but the big difference between the UFC and what Al Heyman is trying to do is that the UFC is making boatloads of cash, shiploads of cash. You ever hear that commercial? You're going to make a shipload of cash, man. But he's making.
But the fighters aren't.
Well, okay. Well, I'm just saying the UFC is, and in boxing, the duplicate, the so-called duplicate blueprint, is paying the fighters more, but the series is losing millions of dollars, over $200 million in the red, and that's not going to keep working, Dax. You know that as well as I do. If they don't start turning that around, they're going to just walk away from the sport, and we're going to have boxing in its worst state ever. Because right now, the only group that is driving the bus, so to speak, aside from shows every so often from Golden Boy, Top Rank, and K2, and I guess you could even sprinkle in Rock Nation, even though they've only done 2 or 3 shows, is PBC. So I mean, there's a lot on the line with boxing and PBC, but that's my thought on that. What was your next? But
my worldwide, at the time when UFC was starting to just real quick in reply to that, at the time when UFC was starting to take over, boxing worldwide wasn't thriving too well. We had a lack of big names. Right now, forget about the PBC, forget about HBO, forget about Showtime, forget about just here in the United States. Boxing overall around the world is thriving because we have more superstar names and we have an influx of fighters that are starting to make a name for themselves. So that's what I mean about, and the mainstream attention. As much as we didn't like the fight, the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight brought so much attention because of the paydays and et cetera, so that's why boxing right now is thriving so much. And, it's always, of course, the UFC was constantly saying, it's a dying sport. No, it's not a dying sport. It's never going to be a dying sport. Now, the next thing I was talking about, the comments from the Triple G David Lemieux Los Angeles press conference, where Triple G kind of said, in a way, he's a little bit scared of this fight coming up. And, you have a lot of the bandwagon people who are sitting there, Triple G's afraid of David Lemieux. And, they're twisting the comments. And, that's not exactly how he said it.
Good, yeah, but good. Let them think that. That sells, right?
Right. Yeah, it does. But, Michelle Joy Phillips actually did an interview with him afterwards, and, she asked him to elaborate kind of on this. And, and he said, of course, I'm just a man. This is a big situation. This is a top opponent. There's a lot on the line. My first pay-per-view. Why wouldn't I be a little scared? Of course I am. Which is more or less he's nervous. And what a lot of people don't realize, and these are the ones where we talk about the lack of knowledge of a lot of these fans today, and the lack of proper media delivery is, he's being honest. Fighters are scared. That doesn't mean that they're cowards. That doesn't mean that they're afraid of their opponent. It's the situation. Throughout history, and you always hear about it after a fighter retires, and one of the most terrorizing fighters of all time in his prime, Mike Tyson, later on he would admit, even Jack Dempsey would later on admit, going into fights they were afraid, but being afraid, it's the nervous energy that keeps them sharp and it keeps them alert and helps them fight better, and anytime a fighter has no sort of fear of their opponent or a situation, that's when you see them, they get upset because they lose that respect of the opponent and the situation. And, what happens is they go in there thinking they're unbeatable, and that's when they get beat, and all of a sudden that's when the overrated comes in. So Triple G was just being honest on there, and people just need to understand the difference of somebody speaking honestly on a situation rather than him saying, "Oh, I'm scared," and now you're just seeing flooded on social media the built-up resume, the hype on him. Now he's finally admitting he's scared. It's almost comical. We have some direct messages on our Twitter account about it.
Yeah, no, I listen. I agree. I mean, I don't think that he's afraid of anybody. But in context, like you said, of course, every time before I ever got into a fight, I was nervous as hell. What are you kidding? I mean, that's what happens. So. I agree with you. I think it's good for sales, for pay-per-view. I think the Triple G David Lemieux fight's going to do extremely well, like we were talking yesterday. I think it's going to do extremely well with the pay-per-view. Like you said, you think they're going to go over 500,000. I think they're going to hit 500. No problem.
I definitely do. Just the whole card itself, as we spoke about yesterday. So it's and again, I'm looking at our Talking Boxing account, and somebody just sent us a direct message, and the exact word you said, I don't know if they're listening to the show or not, but they said exactly what you said. They're just trying to sell, the pay-per-views. They're trying to sell the fight, and that was from Ross Pruitt.
Well, there we go. See, I agree with
there
Ross.
There we go, right? And then just one last other thing. I just was on social media today, and I'm big fan of Mia St. John. Of course, obviously, she's not a fighter no more, but and of course, big fan of Victoria Cisneros. We all know what a great fighter she is, even though her career right now isn't exactly what it used to be. But anybody who follows Mia St. John, they should know the incident that happened with her son Julian and his mental health issues, and what happened over at the hospital out in California at Telecare's La Casa Mental Health Rehabilitation. How they kind of dropped ball and let her son, who had some mental disorders, including schizophrenia, commit suicide and actually escape from the hospital a few times. And they actually have a history of letting patients escape, and several patients have died on their watch. And so Mia St. John right now is in full force on trying to bring awareness to this, not only to for people to take patients with mental health disabilities serious, as it is a real medical condition, but to kind of not just this facility, mental health facility, but all hospitals, to improve their care. And her and from what I understand, her and Victoria Cisneros are going to do a fight for charity, and they're going to do this, to kind of raise up money, to help bring awareness towards these situations. So I'm just hoping this goes really well for the two of them. And now even though they're both retired, they're not at their best. 100% credit that they're still using what fame and popularity they have for a good cause, and I just wish that a lot more of our fighters that have the big name that can draw the big crowds would do a little bit more, just like these two are. Even now, they're champions.
I agree, and unfortunately for Mia St. John, Victoria Cisneros, who I love the girl, she never knows how to not go her 100 all out, 100%. So. If Mia St. John thinks she's just in for like a sparring session, she's gonna be surprised.
They're not even going at it that way. Matter of fact, Victoria was saying that she's training, hopefully for this fight to get in shape. She looks good, but they're doing it for a good cause. They're not going in there to spar. They're just going out there and they're not putting on a fake show. They're going to do what they can to help out this cause. And either way, both of them, even at their worst, I don't think either one of them has never gone out on their shield that I can remember.
No, they always go out on their shield. You mean, definitely they're both proud fighters. That's for sure. As a matter of fact, wasn't Mia St. John? Christy Martin was begging her not to quit. Christy Martin wanted to quit in that fight, and she's going, "Don't go out like that. Keep fighting." This is her talking to her during the fight when Mia St. John was hitting her. Don't go out like that. Don't quit. You're a warrior. Mia St. John was egging on Christy Martin. I think whoever goes to that fight is going to be treated to a good fight.
And it's a great cause, and as more information comes up, I want to keep everybody updated, so everybody can go out there and support it.
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad you brought that up.
And unfortunately, there's not a lot more to talk about for this upcoming weekend.
No, it's a slow week, but next week is good. I got some stuff I'm going to go over here in a few minutes, and we'll see if we can get any other callers. Otherwise, guess what? We get off early tonight, man, so... but
one last question.
What, Columbo?
Do you really think, we spoke about this a few times, and a lot of people are right now, they're believing that Canelo is going to be more or less a showcase opponent for Cotto. In your honest opinion, in any way possible, could that be true?
A showcase for Cotto? The only people that is saying that is probably Mrs. and Mrs. Cotto, Mr. and Mrs. Cotto, and Freddie Roach and Miguel himself. I think Canelo's going to beat Cotto. I think Canelo's going to beat Miguel. I am almost sure that Saul Canelo Alvarez will beat Miguel Cotto.
That's just another thing that amazes me with how people fall into the media, whether it be media hype or just they only follow these certain few guys, and they're basically judging this. From what I've seen, through the social media, Facebook and Twitter accounts, these people are judging this based off of the Canelo's Floyd Mayweather fight and this fight against Araceli Lara.
Listen.
And they're actually judging Miguel Cotto being able to dominate Canelo easily off of his Sergio Martinez and off of the Daniel Gill fight, and it's almost as if that they've totally forgotten what either one of them have done other than those several fights, which is kind of shocking considering they are two of the biggest superstars in the sport, hands down.
I think that what we see with Cotto is he's definitely got a renewed attitude, and he's with a guy that makes him fight aggressive. However, he fought I hate to say this because I always try not to, but he fought a shot, done, spent Sergio Martinez, okay, and Gil, we knew that he was already had lots of mileage on him too. So I don't know if you can look at that as saying he's new and improved. And then when you look at Canelo, he fought Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, like him or not, he's a good defensive fighter, and Floyd fought Canelo right at the time when Canelo was still learning. I think he learned a hell of a lot from that fight. And Araceli Lara is just a talented fighter. I think Canelo is getting better and better as time goes on, and Cotto's getting older, and I think he's a smokescreen. Canelo's going to win the fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if not only Canelo wins, I wouldn't be surprised if he really beats up Cotto. I think Cotto's going to come right at him, and that's exactly what Canelo wants. Canelo is strong when a fighter's standing in front of him. His weakest point is if you make him move, and you make him try to hit on the move, and which he has a hard time doing, and that's why he was not too effective against Floyd. And
Cotto's weakest point, as it's shown in fights, is when he has to go against the ropes and he's under assault. And if he can't get away from his opponent, Cotto has shown in the past to shell up. And when he shells up, he takes a lot more punishment than necessary. A brave fighter, yes, absolutely, but he just you can't stand there and take that type of punishment from somebody like Canelo, who is a brutal body puncher. And if he slows that body down, Cotto will be easy for the taking, and it could be a stoppage. It's going to be a great fight either way, but as far as the way some of these people with the showcase and how they just judge these things based off of 2 or 3 of their last fights on both of them, it reminds me of this time I was talking to this guy about 10 years ago and just discussing boxing in general, and this guy had said, he was about 20 years older than me, and he goes, they were talking about heavyweights, and I said, well, Muhammad Ali's overrated, and he never had a good chin. I said, well, why didn't Muhammad Ali have a good chin? He took some monster shots. He goes, well, he was knocked out a couple times, and Henry Cooper's the first one to ever show that Muhammad Ali's chin wasn't all that good.
I
said, are you serious now? What did he do after Henry Cooper? That's not important. The fact of the matter is,
he beat it, and the funny thing is, it's not like he got knocked out by Cooper. He went down. So but anyway,
Aaron Pryor went down a lot of times in his career too. But when he got back up, what happened?
Yeah, no. Listen, I agree with you that I think Cotto Canelo is going to be a great fight. but there's so much more on the line and at stake for Saul Canelo Alvarez. This is a kid that wants to be a superstar. He's almost there. A win over Cotto, a win in terms of a middleweight division moving up. It's all part of the growth process for Canelo Alvarez. I can't see him losing the fight, Dax. I can't see him losing the fight. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Cotto. I mean, I like Cotto more than most, but I can't see him beating Canelo. I think he took that fight because he had to. He had a choice, either Canelo or Triple G, and he chose Canelo. And then Canelo will fight Triple G, or whoever wins the Lemieux Triple G fight will get the winner of Cotto, Cotto Canelo, and I think that's great. We're in a win-win situation with those two pay-per-views.
And so are the fighters.
No, I know. And like I said in an earlier show, think about it. Those four fighters, Canelo, Cotto, Triple G, and Dave Lemieux, they can conceivably sew up, if they were smart, the whole group that all worked together, if they were smart, they could sew up two, not one, two pay-per-view big paydays for all of them. Because what I would do if I was in charge is I would have the two fights, separate pay-per-views, then the two winners fight each other as the main event of another pay-per-view, and then the two losers fight each other as the co-main event on that same pay-per-view. What a kick-ass pay-per-view! And then who knows? Maybe the winner of when the two losers fight each other, that winner earns a rematch with whoever. Who knows? You could do that, and I'm sure that we got one thing that's guaranteed with those four fighters: action. We know we're gonna get action. So I can't wait.
There's nothing bad, about that. That, as you say it perfectly, it's it's a win-win everywhere. Even if the losers fight one another, great fights. No matter who loses, of course the two winners fight each other, great fights. Even if the winner of one fought the loser of the other, great fights. The four of them together, they're kind of, not for it to be taken out of context, but it's kind of reminiscent to the little circles they used to have back in the 80s, which the Hagler and Hearns and Duran when they were all at middleweight.
Right. No, I can't wait. I can't wait for the big fights. The ones we're talking about: Cotto, Canelo, Triple G, Lemieux, Vladimir Klitschko, Tyson Fury. I mean, they're all great fights coming up. Next week we got Mares and Leo Santa Cruz. I love it, man. I love it. I mean, out of all the fights, I never thought that I'd be saying this year in 2015, of all these other fights that I'm looking forward to, and not one has Floyd Mayweather's name in it, because I know I'm going to watch the Mayweather-Berto fight, but it's something that I feel I have to do. It's not something I'm looking forward to doing. Do you know what I'm saying? I know it sounds weird, but...
you have to, because that's what we do, but it's not something you're excited to do. There's pretty much no more excitement than this than there would be on a very lackluster Friday Night Fights back when that was on. Golden Boy Promotions is on fire over the next couple months. 4 great cards. You got the LA Fight Club. You got the Matisse and Postal. You got Golovkin, David Lemieux. Across seas, Sauerland Promotions right now is on fire with over in they're bringing boxing back over to Sweden. They have about I think about 8 or 9 cards in the next 2 months over there with domestic rivalries that are huge. And the one last thing, and this almost kind of is like sand in my bathing suit, and I know it kind of will be for yours too, but I have to give the WBC credit for the fact that, for the upcoming Lucas Matisse and Victor Postol fight, Vada just said today that the WBC is actually paying for the testing voluntarily on their own. And I think that's the only time a sanctioning body has ever voluntarily paid for the testing for a title fight.
Yeah, I'm sure they're getting the money from someplace, but they're also trying to make us forget
that. It's unannounced.
But I'm sure they're trying to make everybody forget that they approved the Deontay Wilder Johan Dunapaz fight. So
well, that could be too. But you know what? You have to take some of the good with the bad, and you have to give them credit for something like that. Just like I was a big fan and gave them a lot of credit for the hydration rule. So. Can't always constantly focus on the negatives, even though there's a lot of them. But anytime there's a little positive, I like to bring that out there.
Good deal. Dax, great job, and we'll talk to you next time. Actually, I'll be talking to you over the weekend, but
all right,
we'll be
everybody
back
enjoy
Wednesday.
Saturday Night Live and whatever's on tonight.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
Night.
Remember, Dax will be back next week, and we're not going to be here Monday, Tuesday live, but if you're a premium podcast subscriber or a radio listener, don't worry, you'll be getting shows. Phone line is open, 845-228-8710. I got a all-time great list that somehow slipped through the cracks that I want to read. This is from my man Luke. He's actually an English guy living in Korea. He's probably surrounded by all those gorgeous Korean women. I'm a little jealous of my man Luke, but he says, here's my all-time pound-for-pound list. Number 1, Ray Robinson. Number 2, Henry Armstrong. Number 3, Harry Greb. Number 4, Sam Langford. Number 5, Muhammad Ali. Number 6, Willie Pep. Number 7, Bob Fitzsimmons. Number 8, Jack Johnson. Number 9, Roberto Duran. Number 10, Joe Louis. He's also got, he says, the men who just missed out were Benny Leonard, Joe Gans, Stanley Ketchel, and Mickey Walker. He says, I wouldn't replace any of my top 10 with current fighters. Manny Pacquiao, B-Hop, Roy Jones, and Floyd Mayweather are or were all great fighters and would make my top 100, but none of them would get into even my top 50 all-time pound for pound. This is subjective, so there's no wrong answer. I think when all is said and done, all of those names, Pacquiao, B-Hop, Roy, and even Floyd, will definitely be mentioned as all-time greats, and they will be in the pound-for-pound list. And I do think that they'll get into most people's top 50. I also believe that a lot of people will put Floyd in the wrong spot. They'll put him up way too high. But, hey, it's subjective, and it's based on everyone's opinion. So thanks, Luke. I appreciate it. We got some news to talk about. Remember, the phone line is open, 845-228-8710. Roy Jones Jr., Russian Roy Jones Jr., he signs in public the Russian citizenship application. He says, and I quote, I've flown 11 times to Russia. I love this country. I want to become an active member of Russian society. I love the Russian society, and it likes me. I'm sure Russian citizenship would facilitate the task of building a bridge between the countries of Russia and America. What's he talking about? Hey, Roy, in case y'all forgot, you're a fighter, man. You're not a politician. And I don't think anybody is going to look at Roy Jones Jr. As a politician or even a peacemaker. I think it's just a publicity thing. And, he may like the Russian citizenship as a visitor, as an American visitor. But once he becomes a Russian citizen and he gets put on the Russian front, no, I don't know, man. We'll keep you posted on this. If anybody else finds out any information about Russian Roy Jones Jr., let me know. Speaking of crazy stuff, Tomasz Adamek, a guy that gave us many years of excitement and a fighter who I enjoyed watching in all of his weight classes he fought in, has been, I think, and I hope people don't take this wrong, but I think he's been brainwashed. He's got a new trainer, or at least a new energy from a conditioning trainer he's working with, who's convinced Tomasz Adamek that he's got the body of a 25-year-old. In case you're wondering, Tomasz Adamek is 39 years old, and he does have a lot of mileage on him. He's probably got more mileage on him than I-95 running from New York to Florida. So I don't know, but he's in camp. His record is 49-3 with 29 knockouts. He's scheduled to fight on February 26th against Primislav Solida, who his last fight was a 6th-round knockout over Andrew Golota. So it's been a while. 44-7 is Solida's record. Dax and I were just talking about Triple G and David Lemieux. What a great fight this is going to be. October 17th on pay-per-view from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Triple G said, and I quote, "This is the biggest present for everyone, for the fans, TV, us, and of course, He says, "It's an amazing time for us. Much respect for Bernard. I understand his situation." He says, "Pay-per-view unification, a great opponent. This is an amazing time. October 17th will be a great day for sports and boxing. Everybody looks for a new story on October 18th. I welcome you all to Madison Square Garden or watch it on TV." I wonder why. I have no idea what the Bernard thing was. I guess he's just saying that he has a lot of respect because Bernard Hopkins obviously is involved with the Golden Boy part. David Lemieux says, "I believe I can win. I understand what I need to do. I'm not a dreamer. I'm a realist. I'm here today because of my great determination. With what I have come a long way. With that, I've come a long way. I like Triple G. He's a good man, a good champion. But in the ring, nobody likes anybody. We're going to give the world what they want to see. October 17th, you will see something great. Make sure you watch." I'm not so sure David Lemieux really believes he can win. I think David Lemieux has convinced himself that, he's got enough punching power to beat Triple G. And I think what we're going to see when this fight happens is David Lemieux go all out with the attitude of, I'm either going to knock this guy's head off or he's going to knock mine off. And I think that's how he's going to fight. I think it's going to be a fast-paced fight. I don't anticipate a feeling out process in this fight. I really don't. I can't wait for this fight to happen. I really can't. Some other news that I wanted to get to. The other day I was really complaining about the Floyd Mayweather Andre Berto card and how much it was a smokescreen, the pay-per-view. I mean, you could say what you want. The Rocky Martinez, Orlando Salido fight may look good on paper, but both these guys have a lot of mileage on them. It's not going to be as entertaining as their first fight. That's, the co-main. When you add up, the other fights, the Jonathan Oquendo and Gonzalez fight, I really, I'm not that crazy about that either. Yanni Gonzalez and Jonathan Oquendo. I mean, I think it's going to be a good fight, but it's two guys that are out of their prime. It's a showcase. Listen, all these fights, and the only fight that I really am interested in is the Badeau Jack and Groves fight, which it's been reported is that's what's going to open up the pay-per-view. I don't think it's worth $24.95 to be honest with you. But anyway, they announced the Leo Santa Cruz Abner Mares undercard, and check out this fight. Now remember, this is going to be on ESPN. All right, you got Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares. I mean, to me, that's all I need to see. I mean, that's a pay-per-view fight. That should be on the Mayweather undercard, in my opinion. But we're going to get to watch it on ESPN on a PBC series. I love it. I love that. Check out the other two fights. And remember, this is network television, basically, ESPN, right? You have Leo Santa Cruz, like I said, against Abner Mares. But they also announced that Hugo Ruiz, who's 35-2 with 30 knockouts, is going up against another knockout puncher in Julio Cesar Ceja, who's 28-1. They're going to be fighting in a world title fight in the super bantamweight division. I mean, those two fights are great, but wait, there's more, because Alfredo Angulo is trying to get back to his winning ways, and they're putting him in with battle-tested. And I say this, I know that's usually a phrase used when they're bringing some sacrificial lamb in, but based on Alfredo Angulo's last several performances, Hector Munoz is going to be an interesting fight for Angulo. We're going to get to see where Angulo goes from here. From here after this fight. Munoz is 23-15, but Like I said, Angulo's has been, somewhat, not that great lately. Not that he ever was. But the first two fights, the Santa Cruz and Abner Maris fight and the Ruiz-Seja fight, they're worth the price of admission. They're worth a cable network. I wouldn't even mind either one of those fights, if not both of them, on a pay-per-view with a main event. But to get all three of these fights on ESPN, I love it. I love it. Again, this is what Shane Mosley's going up against. And Terrence Crawford, they made it official. Another a young fighter that I just can't get enough of. You got Terrence Crawford going up against Derry Jean on October 24th. This is going to be a great fight. I love Terrence Crawford. He makes all his fights entertaining. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be taking place I think in Canada. In Montreal. It will be taking place in Montreal. So I believe it's also going to be on HBO. So we'll see what happens there. Phone line is open. We're running out of time, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to, end or at least get close to ending with this. Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, great guy and a hard worker. But not a great champion. And I don't like this bullshit path he's taken. And I'm sorry, but I can't refer to a fighter as a world champion when we're still expected to watch him develop. And I believe that exactly what he's doing with the Eric Molina fight and now with the Johan Duhaupas fight, which is scheduled for September 26th. I do have some quotes from this joke of a fight, and Deontay Wilder once again makes some really stupid comments, pertaining to how bad of an ass he is and what an ass whooping he's going to put on. He says, and I quote, "Fighting at home last time exceeded my expectations, and coming back again is a blessing in my life." Now, it exceeded his expectations. I hope he means for the excitement of fighting in front of his home crowd, because his performance definitely did. It was, one of his worser performances. I know he jumped up on the rope and was pounding his chest like he just knocked out King Kong and Godzilla with one punch, but we all know different. He says, "I'm looking forward to bringing more boxing to Alabama and introducing the entire state to this great sport." Well, it's bringing boxing to Alabama is one thing, but don't bring these slugs and pound on your chest, Deontay, like you're a badass, because you haven't proved shit to anybody, in my opinion. Berman Vern, I really believe, and I take the blame myself too. I really believe that the media built him up to way more than what he ever was. And that's the best fighter on Deontay Wilder's record. Granted, it's the fighter that he won his title from, but show me another good fighter. And to lay two eggs after winning the world title and saying that Vladimir Klitschko's got to get in line, it's a joke. Deontay's a joke. As much as I like him as a human being, as a fighter, and trying to pass this bullshit off as being something good is a joke. He says, "I know my opponent has great size, and that's what we're looking for in opponents. He has a great record, and he's never been knocked out until he faces me. I know Duhaupas is tough, and he comes to fight, and that's exactly what we need." Now, you need a real fighter. Duhaupas has never been knocked out because he's never fought anybody. We don't even know half the people that's on his resume. The only two guys on his resume beat him, except for his last fight. Manuel Charr has been beat up a lot, and that's his big win. That's his big win of his whole career. So I don't think he brings anything to the table, to be honest with you. Johan Duhaupas, well, I think this sums it up. He says, "I'm happy to be challenging Deontay Wilder for the heavyweight title. This is a huge opportunity, and I'm going to try to make the most of it on September 26th. Deontay's a good boxer, but I have the heart of a lion and the mental fortitude to handle anything in the ring." That's great, but you got the skill to handle it. I mean, having the heart of a lion, as long as he doesn't have the heart of a courage. The lion from the Wizard of Oz. I mean, the lion from the Wizard of Oz was looking for courage all day long, and now he's got the heart of a lion. Which lion? The Detroit Lions, that can hardly win a football game. A lion, who can, rip something apart. Or the cowardly lion from the Wizard of Oz. I mean, come on, man. This is a joke. It's a joke of a fight. Hey, listen, today's Friday. You guys drive the show. I will take one short break right here and give you one last chance to call in, 845-228-8710. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Rosselli Enterprises. Rosselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Rosselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RosselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you. Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio with no worthy contenders. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Check out BillyCBoxing.com now or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And, we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Hey, don't forget about following us on Twitter. It's at Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING. Dot. No dot. It's just at Talkin' Boxing. Programming note, we are not doing a live show on Monday or Tuesday. We got some stuff going on, but by the time I come back on Wednesday, I will be announcing a book release party, and it may be tied in with another book announcement. So stay tuned for that. It will be open to everyone, so hopefully you guys could make it. I'm not sure where it's going to be right now, but we got some irons in the pot. So when I come back on Wednesday, I will be announcing that. Now, if you are already getting all worked up because you're not going to get a show on Monday or Tuesday, fear not. All the premium podcasters will get their show. Don't worry. And all the radio stations will get their show. Don't worry. So if you've been waiting to become a premium podcast subscriber, now's the time. You will get shows on Monday and Tuesday. To become a premium podcast subscriber, just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the premium podcast subscription, which is just a yellow button that says subscribe.
Wake up. It's time for It's too early for a trivia question.
All right. It's that time, man. It's too early for a trivia question. Question is being brought to us today by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. If you're looking for a unique spice, check out Kenny Bear's Barbecue Rub. You can get a bottle of Kenny Bear's by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner. Now, when you order that, make sure you tell them Billy C sent you and demand the 2-for-1 offer. That's only good for this weekend, so get yourself some. I promise you're going to love this stuff. It's addictive. It really is. All right. I really want to give out some prizes here. I can't believe I've stumped. Well, of course I can believe it. If somebody asked me this on the street, I would be like, huh? Who? What? Can I get back to you? But the thing about these questions is you can find them out online. You can search. You can find. You can research and get it. Who fought the most world title bouts without ever beating a world champion? Who fought the most world title bouts without ever beating a world champion? What we're talking about here is a fighter who was 6-4 in world title fights. In other words, he was a world champion, but on his record, you won't find a single win over someone who was recognized by even BoxRec as a world champion. The other hint is that he, I guess if you add it up, he went 6-4, but he fought 10 world title fights. All right, this is actually a question that we recycled. We asked it the first time back in 2013. So if you want to go back and listen around that time for the answer, go ahead. But I'm sure you can find it other ways. Now, if you're the first one to email me the correct answer at Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win a choice of some great prizes. Good luck to everyone on that. I'll give you one more hint real quick. This guy's first name begins with an R.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by my new book. That's right, Tom Molineaux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. Here, let me hold it up for you. Is right here, and not only is it right here, but you can get it where all good books are sold, including online on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. It's the story of a freed slave, Tom Molineaux, who fought for his freedom, made his way to England, and challenged at the time the best fighter on the planet. You got to learn about this guy. Not only was he a great fighter in his day, but he was really the first American worldwide recognized celebrity. He's virtually forgotten today. And no, wait, there's more. Because Tom Molineaux, just because of the color of his skin, is not getting the credit he deserves to this day. That's what this book is about. And not only do we want you to read the story, we need you to read the story because we need his story to be spread. And we need to right the wrongdoing that's been floating around for almost 2 centuries, more than 2 centuries. Buy a copy of this book. And if you get a minute, do me a favor and write a review on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. As a matter of fact, there's no reviews on Barnes & Noble yet. I think the book just became available up on Barnes & Noble. They were behind Amazon, but some great reviews up on Amazon, so I appreciate that. So get yourself a copy. And if you like a signed copy, you can visit www.billycboxing.com and click on the book club section, and that'll give you some instructions. And by the way, if you did already order a signed copy, I don't have any control over the copies from the bookstores or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. But if you do order a signed copy, you get them directly from us. And everyone that ordered one, from the early orders all the way on up to the last order we took, have been shipped. So if you're waiting for your book, they've been shipped. They're in the mail. Now, if you're in Europe, which we did ship quite a few overseas, I think it takes about a week to get there. But everyone else has been getting them in 2 or 3 days. So you should have it by now. If not today, definitely tomorrow. On this day, August 21st in 1996, Laureate Bundai knocks out Julio Cesar Vasquez in the 5th round to win the WBA World Junior Middleweight title. Took place in France. On this day in 1985, Lonnie Smith knocks out Billy Costello in the 8th round to win the WBC World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place in New York City. On this day in 1999, Costa knocks out Miguel Angel Gonzalez in the 10th round to win the vacant World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place in Miami. On this day in 1924, Harry Greb and Tiger Flowers fight to a 10-round draw in their middleweight bout that took place at Legion Stadium in Fremont, Ohio, before over 12,000 fans in 1924. What a fight that was, by the way. And on this day in 1981, Salvador Sanchez knocks out Wilfredo Gomez in the 8th round to retain his WBC World Featherweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas. Gomez loses for the first time in his career, and he drops to 32 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And Salvador Sanchez improves to 41 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. We had a great week. Don't forget, Monday, Tuesday, we're not doing live shows, but make sure you return on Wednesday. We'll have the Blast from the Past. We'll have Salsa Nicola. Thursday, we'll have my normal cast of characters, which includes Larry Hazard and Dax Khan. And then next Friday, it will be a similar day like today. You'll be driving it, but we got a lot of good fights coming up next week. So we'll be talking about that all week. So make sure you check it out. And if you're not a premium podcast subscriber, now's the time, especially for Monday and Tuesday. Oh, and I meant to tell you this. Don't forget to tune in Wednesday evening, same bad time, same bad channel. Unless, of course, you're a premium podcast subscriber, and then you can get any show anytime. And you should spend some time reviewing some of the fights that we got up. Some of the shows we got up on YouTube. There's plenty of them up there. Hey, listen, have a great weekend. Until next time, ciao, baby.